Hello everyone, it's me, your average bonehead, Jay. I love indie animation. It is one of the most interesting parts of the entertainment industry for me. Seeing independently made cartoons, they're able to target their exact age demographic that they want to tell the stories that they want without having to worry about a laundry list of out-of-touch studio mandates or fearing their show can be cancelled just because they do something the network deems too quote-unquote risque. No, instead these shows are free to tell the story they want and how they want to do it. And while Helluva seems to be the show at the forefront of this renaissance, I think one of the biggest voice is the indie studio Gulch Productions. Founded by the creators of SMG4, Kevin and Luke, I cannot pronounce your last name, I'm so sorry I'm an idiot. This is probably my favorite and honestly one of the biggest voices in the indie animation scene so far. Say what you will about the current quality of the SMG4 videos when compared to the past, but these guys have my undying respect for what they have done. And sure, I don't really care for Meta Runner, and Sunset Paradise is only really interesting if you actually like Maggie, which luckily I do, but Murder Drones is really good. And I highly recommend that one. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about their newest show, a show that was done by a collaboration with Gooseworx, who outside from music I don't really pay attention to that much. Sorry. I was a huge fan of her work back during my Undertale days. If you're aware of these remixes, then you know Gooseworx. And I do consistently follow her music, but one thing that really did catch my eye from her was when it was announced that she was going to be collaborating with Gulch Productions on a new show, and that show is the topic of today's video, the amazing digital circus. Let's begin, shall we? Our pilot begins with us being introduced to the ringleader of this digital circus, Kane, as well as his assistant, Bubble, as the two of them, as well as the song, introduced us to our main colorful cast of happy-go-lucky characters, the depressed Gangle, the apathetic Zooble, the paranoid Kinger, the optimistic Ragatha, the jackass, Jax, and some random clown guy named Kofmo, who I'm absolutely sure is going to be very important down the line. During the intro, a new character spawns in, this Jester girl. She accidentally interrupts the intro, and we get this.
How do I take this headset off?
Just keep grabbing at it. That worked for all of us.
Yeah, if for some reason you went in completely blind to this pilot, this girl, as well as all the other characters in the roll call, are humans. They're just like us. They put on some mysterious headset, and now they're trapped in this digital world. The entire show's premise can basically be summed up as, hey, getting isekai'd into another world with a new body is actually kind of terrifying. Yeah, all these people are trapped in an early internet days edutainment game for 5-year-olds. And I mean that literally, because they can't even swear. As when the new girl is told she can't swear, she goes through all 13 bad words.
You said number 11.
Oh my god.
Kane decides to show her the rest of the digital circus, and then shows her a place called the Void, warning her not to go there, solely due to the fact that he doesn't have any real jurisdiction out there. Though when they get back to the tent, the girl swears she saw an exit. But Kane brushes that off. He then asks her name, which honestly that's kind of mean on his end because he's already been over this multiple times in the past, and he knows the people will not remember their names. Yeah, she can't remember it. So Kane decides to give her a new name, and they ultimately settle on Pomni. So to give Pomni an introduction to how things work around here, Kane decides to hold an activity called Gather the Gloinks, where a bunch of creatures called Gloinks will invade the circus, and it's up to the characters to stop them. And after that, Kane leaves. And at this point, now we can finally get a better understanding of the other characters. Yeah, throughout the first few minutes of this pilot, Kane and Bubble are basically carrying the whole thing, as the other characters, aside from Pomni, are just kinda standing around until Kane leaves. It's not really a problem, as Kane is the one who would naturally have to give the introduction to everything. I'm just saying. With Pomni not really understanding any of what Kane told her, and still trying to convince herself that this is all just some crazy dream, Ragatha tries to lay it on her gently that even though they're trapped here, it's not going to be all bad, and that the activities that Kane makes them do is to help them, while Jax would much rather mess around with Pomni's emotions and mental state. Zubul, on the other hand, doesn't care about any of this and doesn't even want to participate in the activity. Of course, despite them being the one who wants to be the least involved, they end up getting the most involved as the Gloinks end up showing up and taking away all of Zubul's pieces. And I love how no one aside from Gangle seems to actually care.
You just have a jump start and losing your mind?
What about Zubul?
Like, even the more kind Ragatha doesn't even acknowledge that Zubul's been taken away by the Gloinks, and instead wants to go introduce Pomni to their other friend Kaufmo, the clown who didn't show up in the intro. But the paranoid Kinger advises that that wouldn't be a good idea, as he's pretty sure Kaufmo's gone insane, as he's been blabbering about an exit. But Pomni thinks this could be a good thing, as it could be proof that she did actually see an exit. So then it's decided that Jax, Ragatha, and Pomni will go see Kaufmo, while Kinger and Gangle will go save Zubul from the Gloinks. And we get my favorite running joke of the pilot.
Ah! Oh! Gangle, you startled me.
Please let Kinger being jump scared by Gangle, even though she was right next to him for like 20 minutes, be a running joke throughout the series. On their way to go get Kaufmo, Ragatha then explains to Pomni that the reason why they all kind of just stopped trying to escape is because there really is no exit, and constantly chasing an unobtainable goal will kind of drive you insane. Which, when you really think about it, is the message of this entire pilot, and probably the moral of the show. It's not healthy to chase unobtainable goals. Sometimes you gotta just accept the hand life deals out for you, or else it will drive you to do irrational things, and that will never end well. Wait a minute, that's a similar message to Wreck-It Ralph. This really is amazing. Anyways, we also learn that Pomni, as well as the other characters, all have their own rooms. Ignore the ones with the X's, that's definitely not important. And they eventually get to Kaufmo's room, but unfortunately there's no answer. Luckily, Jack stole a key to the room and all of their rooms, and after he and Ragatha act like an old married couple, we see that Kaufmo has abstracted, which is basically just code for going completely insane. Jax hightails it out of there, leaving Ragatha and Pomni to have to deal with the abstracted Kaufmo, and they don't do that. Pomni manages to lose Kaufmo as he ends up going crazy throughout the circus. Ragatha, though, after getting attacked, has seemed to catch a bad case of pixlexia, and she tells Pomni to find Kane as he's the one who can fix this. Pomni tries going off to find Kane, and she also ends up seeing a mirror and finally getting to see what she herself looks like, the new body that she'll forever be in. But on her way to find Kane, she ends up finding the exit door she was talking about. And then she goes through it, leading her to a dimly lit office building. And this action right here kind of shows off a pretty interesting character flaw for Pomni. Due to the fact that this is a pilot, we don't get much of Pomni's established personality that we'll see in the actual show because she's still trying to be introduced to everything. We do not know how Pomni is going to react to most stuff going forward, except for here. Pomni abandoned Ragatha. Even though Pomni's still trying to convince herself that this is all just a dream, she still left the only person who was actually kind to her in this whole place for dead. Without looking back or any true remorse, she only cared about saving herself. And I hope the show goes more in depth with this later on. Meanwhile, with Kinger and Gangle, they end up finding the hole that the Gloinks took one of the pieces of Zubul down. Once Jax catches up with them, he ends up pushing them down the hole as he goes down it himself to escape the abstracted Kaufmo. Once they get down there, they enter the nest of the Gloink Queen. They end up finding Zubul's head, and we get my favorite joke in the entire pilot.
Gotcha! Oh.
Hey! Kinger, you mother...
Before the Empress Bulbax's sister can do anything to the other characters though, the abstracted Kaufmo falls through the ceiling and attacks her, which ultimately ends up saving Zubul, and then Kinger makes a little Runmo reference.
You didn't experience a game show in there, did you?
What?
They manage to find a conveniently placed escalator, and after Jax proves that he is basically just Daffy Duck from the Looney Tunes show,
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
Zubul points out that Pomni's not even here, so what was the point of any of them doing this? Speaking of Pomni, we see that she's still in the office building, as she's still going through a stream of doors that seemingly never ends. Eventually though, she sees a computer that she seems to recognize, with a VR headset that she seems to recognize, which causes Pomni to kind of lose it a bit, and she manages to get through one more door that takes her right out into the void. We finally see Kane again, as he and Bubble are having what I think is dinner together at this hilariously visually out of place restaurant, as he ends up realizing that someone's in the void, and he goes and gets Pomni and puts her right back where she belongs. He then does away with the abstracted Kaufmo, putting him with the others, and he manages to end up restoring Ragatha.
And then Kane explains that there really isn't an exit at all. All that place was just a place called Exit that Kane never really got around to finishing. Which more or less actually means that Kane isn't evil or really an antagonist in any sense of the word. He either A, does not know that when they say they want an exit, it means they want to leave the digital world, or B, he does know they want to leave, but he himself doesn't know how to do that, so he was trying to give them like a consolation prize. Either way, I think all of this has something to do with the Void. And I guess that just means everything's good now. And for defeating the Gloink Queen, they end up getting their reward. Though Kinger gleefully explains that it doesn't matter because they can't eat, drink, or even sleep for that matter in the digital world, so a meal like this will only give off the digital sensation of food without any of the nutritional benefits. And I guess Pomni finally has come to terms with everything, as she smiles, clearly being happy with the new life that she will live forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. She's in hell. And the pilot ends on that note. The Amazing Digital Circus pilot is, as the name would imply, amazing. The animation is gorgeous, the voice acting is pristine, all the characters, even Jax, are likable. I intentionally did not show that many jokes because I don't want to spoil how funny they are, and the concept is so interesting. One thing about Glitch Productions I've noticed is that they seem to get better and better with each of their shows. I mean, that makes sense when you really think about it, and this is more proof of that. And more proof also that indie animation is as alive and well as ever, and we need to keep supporting it in order to get more of it. Of course, that does also mean that fandoms need to behave themselves. One of my least favorite things ever is when an indie franchise is labeled bad because its fandom it chooses to be toxic. People, stop berating Gooseworx with a bunch of questions about the show. We will find out about that when we watch the show. And also, don't be mad at people who are critical towards this pilot. If anything, this moment right here is where we need to be the most critical towards this series, so that everyone working on it can figure out, alright, what works, what doesn't work, what should be changed, what should stay the same, what should we add, what should we take away, and what should we keep the same, while not messing too much with the main concept. This is what will let us get an amazing show. So don't be toxic about this show, or any indie show for that matter. Support shows like the Amazing Digital Circus, so more indie shows can continue being made, and so more can be made. Now, I'm your average bonehead Jay, and I wish you all good night.